Welcome, fans and followers, to myStartUp.Live. I am Kevin Allen, your host, and today's show, super exciting, as it always is. I have a guest here from San Diego. His name is PJ Mastracchio. PJ?
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for joining us.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
PJ is with a company called AtYourGate, and I'm going to let him explain it. This is an exciting new business in the airport scene.
Thanks, Kevin. So essentially, AtYourGate is an in-airport personal shopping service. We allow passengers to download the app or through several partner apps with Grab. And essentially, passengers can shop anywhere inside the airport for food and retail items. We then have our uniformed staff on the other side of security. They're badged, they're trained hospitality staff. They're going to go shop for those items. They're going to put them all in one bag and bring it directly to the passenger's gate.
So your team is going to make the full purchasing the item for the consumer, the end consumer, and they're bringing it all the way to whatever gate they've assigned on the app.
Correct. Yeah. So essentially, what we're doing now is we're giving the passengers more choice. So in the San Diego airport is in 2 terminals. Okay. And if you're flying out of Terminal 1, you don't have access into Terminal 2. We now give them access into Terminal 2, so as the passenger moves through the airport, they're able to see not just what's in their normal geographic range. You know, we all do the same thing. We get to the airport and we look around and see what's at our gate. Yeah. But you don't see what's on the other side of the wall.
That restaurant is not at my gate. I'm just going to have to eat this.
You're going to have to eat junk.
Yeah.
Or not junk, but something you want to settle for.
Something not to your liking.
Yeah, you got it. And so our motto kind of internal is choose, don't settle. We did a lot of market research with passengers, and it came back very strongly that they wanted a choice. They like the convenience of the service. They liked having control, meaning as long as you get to your gate, you're going to have all your items for your flight. And we've all been in the TSA line, and you're rocking back and forth trying to see, when am I going to go through? I got to get something to eat. We take that pain point away. And then finally, the concierge. Our staff is trained to interact with our guests, compliment them on their clothes. Where are you going? I've been there before. It's great.
That.
Try the soup.
Kind of like black tie without the black tie.
Very much so. White glove service. And our team has been really focused on the customer experience. And I think we're all used to airports. A lot of stress. You check in, check your bag, go through security.
Uncertainty too.
A lot of uncertainty, even for guys like us that travel. We talked about traveling millions of miles. So do you. And we're going to be in line together. Absolutely. And there's not a quick. So giving the customer the ability to cut the line is important for us.
But you're not just servicing the travelers, also the airport staff, which is
Correct.
What, nearly 1 million or something.
So in San Diego Airport, there's roughly 6,000 to 8,000 people that work at the airport, and so you're exactly right. Not just the airport staff, but think about TSA. They get a 20-minute break, and they spend 15 minutes of that break in line. And now the ability for them to hit a button, go to their break room, and have Brittany or Brad show up with a bag with their sandwich and their bottle of water, it's a quality of life issue for them. You think about the flight attendants, especially Southwest Airlines. They don't have kitchens on the planes. They don't cater the planes.
Right.
And so consequently, they turn them very quickly, but the flight attendants don't have an opportunity and the pilots don't have an opportunity to shop. And so not only pigeonholing them in the terminal they're in if they can get off, giving them choice outside the terminal is really important too. So.
Sure. And you could even have a team of TSA that order from the same restaurant and you got one delivery instead
Correct.
of 3 different deliveries.
Yeah, and we're actually, that's something that we anticipate happening, especially in the break room setting,
Sure.
Where they can go congregate in one area. And, a service fee for the traveler is different than the employee. And so we're going to encourage employees to use it more. And what they've told us in the airport, they're going to use it. So.
And your market here is it could be worldwide too. You're starting here in San Diego. Clearly, first test is coming soon.
Correct. Yeah, and so we're very focused right now on San Diego because we're very cognizant of the fact that if we don't do well in San Diego, there won't be a second airport.
Yeah.
But we have been in talks with several airports in the U.S. and internationally, which is really exciting for us. We went through an accelerator called Plug and Play up in Silicon Valley.
Okay.
And they're the largest startup accelerator in the world. PayPal, Dropbox, Zoosk, Lending Club, they've all come through there. And they have a travel and hospitality vertical, and they had about 2,500 applicants for travel.
Wow.
They selected 19 companies, and we were one of the 19 companies. So actually moved to Silicon Valley. And a part of that environment is the corporate sponsorships. And so companies like Lufthansa as a partner there. And so having the ability to work with C-level.
That's hence Plug and Play, right? You already the network infrastructure is there to bring you in and help you succeed.
Yeah, it is a fascinating ecosystem up there, and a company like us that's a startup with an idea, getting in front of Willie Walsh, who's the CEO of IAG, which is Aer Lingus and British Airways, and having press the flesh with the C-level executives at major airlines and being a startup,
Right.
no revenue and idea, it really gave us exposure and also gave us confidence. You know, these folks mentored us and they helped us learn how our business would operate within their business.
Sure.
And it's a really interesting environment we operate in.
How did you get into the plug and play? You know, a lot of startups talk about getting into that incubator, getting into that launch lab.
We did it the non-traditional way. We didn't apply to the program. We didn't have any money at the time. They were doing the applications. And, but I have a mentor named Will Summerlin, who's the CEO of an artificial intelligence company called PIN. And Will's the ripe old age of 19 right now. Will graduated from Plug and Play
Great
at 16.
partner.
Yeah, he's awesome. I love the
Future
kid.
talent.
Oh, he's a talent. He's not future. He's here now. And anyway, long story short, we found out that they had narrowed down the applicants to the final 60, and they do a meetup where they bring in the C-level executives, and then they bring in the startups, and they kind of it's a cross between the Bachelorette and Shark Tank. They want to see, can you date these folks here, and do they have a good idea? And we crashed it. We literally flew up to Silicon Valley, and my co-founders and I walked into the event unannounced, and we were tapped on the shoulder very quickly, and they're like, who are you guys? And we gave them the 8-second pitch, and they said, why don't you come in tomorrow morning and meet with our ventures team, have fun, have cocktails tonight.
So wouldn't you say that 8-second pitch was probably the most important conversation you had?
Absolutely.
So developing your pitch as a startup entrepreneur is immensely important, and do it very quickly. You had 8 seconds with the boss of, let's say, I don't know who it was at that moment, but you had that 8 seconds.
Yeah, and my advice, I think, to any startup out there, if you're going to build a business, is you got to be able to tell it on a napkin. You know, put it on a cocktail napkin. If you can't tell someone what you do in 10 seconds, you're dead in the water. Yeah. You know, and that's a really important thing, and it's something I learned doing this. I've had a couple of successful exits. I've built a company before with co-founders, and you know, as it gets easier to describe what you do, everything comes easier then.
Yep.
You know, it's just got to be able to tell it quickly.
So you definitely benefited from that Silicon Valley infrastructure, the plug and play, obviously networked you with all the right people to get the business from an ideation stage to obviously a real business, which is today.
Yeah, I think for any startup that looks at an ecosystem of an accelerator, you have to find one that's going to be good for your business. They're not all cut out for each other. Plug and Play is special because they have so many different verticals: IoT, connected health, packaging. The travel vertical was big for us, but I think, you know, being able to be in an environment like that as a startup, and not only around the corporate partners, but around the other startups. You know, I moved to Silicon Valley from Laguna Beach for 6 months to immerse myself there. People thought I was crazy, but it was awesome. But you know, working with companies like Bellhop, which is another app, and you know, and integrating with API feeds with these different startups, it really gave us an advantage over anybody else that was going to come into the marketplace.
Now, let's go back, because I know that you don't necessarily have that tech background, but you are a serial entrepreneur. And this is exciting because, I mean, really, we've had some guests on the show, some of which have had previous business. You've had 2 successful exits.
Yeah, I've been
Let's
very
talk about
lucky.
those for a moment.
So I started my career out in the video game industry, actually, in the coin-operated video game business.
Way back.
Yeah, in the 90s in New York City. You know, pool tables, jukeboxes, vending machines, pretty much anything you put a coin in. But I met a really smart game developer named Chuck Morton, and Chuck had spent some time in healthcare, and then Chuck got into the video game business, and we had some similarities, and we created a business to help patients stay on medication longer by using video games. And we sold that in 2010, and then the company that acquired us just went crazy, bonkers, massive, big, and so that was another acquisition there. And at the same time, though, I became like a card-carrying consultant and a wanderlust at the same time, and I was hired as a consultant for a company that did in-airport experiential marketing, and where we deploy brand ambassadors in the airport to hand out free product samples.
All right, so that kind of walked you into that airport environment, said, there's some things here I could already fix.
It did, and being a traveler, we talked about this earlier, you know, there's some pain points, but the neat thing about an airport is there's only 2 places that passengers go in an airport: the departure gate and the exit. You could bounce all over that place, but you're only going on a plane or getting out, right? And so what we've done in our business is we've been cognizant that a departing traveler, we're going to meet them at the gate, okay? Yep. But for arriving travelers, it's inefficient for us to stand and wait for you to deplane.
Right.
So we built a kiosk.
Because you could be in the very back of the plane. It takes 20 minutes to
If
get
you're
off
in
the plane.
66K in a Dreamliner, it's going to take you more than 20 minutes. So we built a kiosk that sits at the exit of the airport.
Okay.
So when you arrive, you're going to swing by the kiosk, pick up your bag of items, and go.
Oh,
and
wow.
so it's very convenient. But what we found is that, and I'm sure this has happened to you before, you land at 11 o'clock at night and everything's closed.
Yeah.
And you still got to get your car
Oh,
and
my.
drive home.
I never even thought about that.
So now we have
How many times
lockers.
flew in and out of Atlanta airport, so many times was I stuck there at 1 in the morning, nothing's open.
Yep.
I have nothing to eat. I'm starving. I've been
And
on a
Atlanta
plane
is
for 5
not,
hours.
it's not easy to get in and out of those airports. And so what we've done is developed a kiosk that will have lockers in it. And so if you land after hours, we'll message you in-app and say, Kevin, welcome back to Orange County. Your items are in, you know where the kiosk is, and your items are in, locker number 16.
So let's talk about, in the past, I mean, clearly you had some tech because you described video games, although you didn't provide the actual video game itself. You provided the physical
sales,
machine
yeah.
and the sales of them. And then you've had the media company, which was developing sort of a CD-ROM for training people on how to take their medications.
Correct.
You mentioned that. But this is real tech. So how have you adapted to sort of the tech's talk and just meeting with CTOs and engineers and describing that? How does that process work?
Hire smart people. No, I mean, I've been a sponge the last 27 months.
Sure.
I've certainly absorbed a lot, but I meant what I said when I left. Hire really smart people. My co-founders, Chris and David, there's no way I'd be here without them. There's no way. And David and Chris bring special skill sets. David is an MBA from University of Chicago in marketing, but an undergrad in chemical engineering. He ran plant operations and he ran restaurants. So he's got a great left brain, right brain. And Chris is a friend of mine for 25 years. We had cranes at the Jersey Shore together 25 years ago. But Chris is an operations guy. Chris is the guy who's going to make it get done. And I think between the three of us, we make a really strong team. I think we all kind of fill in the gaps for them. Clearly, they are extremely educated individuals, but I bring a little street sense to the team, and I think that we make a really good team.
Yeah, it seems like
together.
you've got the hustle, which is.
That's all I've been doing since I was a kid. I don't know how to do anything.
And
else.
how do you keep that going? Because the hustle it's like this. It's an energy, but how do you keep that energy going even at this stage? After you've exited twice, how do you keep that energy going?
I think a lot of it's passion. I attribute a lot of it to my upbringing. I was raised in a very stable household in New Jersey and born in New York City. I went to a fantastic high school called Seton Hall Prep that gave me the foundation for my education. I played college football at the University of Kentucky, and I think that was a catalyst in my life because I went there because people laughed and said I couldn't. And I think my whole life has been a challenge. And every time someone's told me I couldn't do something, I've gone out of my way to do it. But I always do everything with a smile, and I do it with passion, and I think it's contagious. And you can give energy by being passionate about what you do. So I think for me, it's all about drive. I've never been motivated by money in my life. Maybe my earlier life, I think I was, But I think
we
now
all had that hunger at some point.
You do, but I think when you realize what it comes down to it is if you making a difference in the world, whether it's a business or being a good person, that's contagious also. And I think my guys all pick up on that.
Yeah, and really what you're doing is doing exactly that. It's improving the experience that people have inside of an airport, as well as the entire travel experience altogether. Because eating right and even shopping gives you a certain amount of relief.
Eating healthy keeps you refreshed too. I mean, when you eat crappy food, excuse my language, you feel bad. And it's a really interesting environment here because the airports are trying to get more healthy now. They're starting to put in a lot more healthier choices than they used to have. And so travelers are very cognizant of that. But I think one of the things we're going to try and do is help passengers make healthier choices eventually and show them what else is available for them in the airport. And
let's talk about an operational challenge because I right away when I heard about this business, and I heard about it through Orange County Business Journal,
cool.
Deidre Newman referred me to you. And how do you get around the whole TSA, government, airport security? This is a challenge in itself. I mean, just that whole process.
It is. The airport's a government property. And so the first hurdle is to contract directly with the airport, and that is a hurdle. San Diego Airport has been absolutely fantastic to us, and they actually have an innovation lab, which I'll talk to you about in a second. But essentially, we contract with the airport, and then once we contract with the airport, we have a 3-stage approach that we have to approach, and in no certain order. First is TSA, law enforcement, safety, and security. We have to get our folks, we have to present them an operational plan on where and when we need to be at what door and exits and secure areas in the airport. And so Chris and my co-founder Chris did a fantastic job of building that plan. We submit that to the airport security team, then they submit that to TSA, and TSA approved our plan, and we now have tremendous access. Yeah, and it's a very important part of our business, and we're going to treat it extremely carefully.
So what went into that plan in the sense of, I mean, how many people did you have to involve in terms of your core team as well as outside, the airport staff, the TSA? How many people were involved in putting together that plan?
The beginning was a room full of about 10 people, but really Chris and David and Clint took care of most of the work. Clint is at the airport, and then Clint shepherds it to TSA, so it's kind of out of our hands there. It's actually it's a very efficient system because you kind of, even though you have a middleman, that middleman knows exactly what he needs to convey. And so that's one part of it. And then the second part is we have to work with the airline station managers. I think there's 17 different airlines that fly into San Diego. And the airport's broken up into two very distinct areas. The tile is owned by the airport, and the carpet is leased by the airline. So for my staff to set foot on the carpet, we need to have permission from the airline. So we need to meet with each individual airline on protocols. How do we serve your passengers? How do we serve your crew? How do we serve you?
And each one has a different culture, a different procedure.
Japan Airlines is a lot different than American Airlines. It's just, and there's different flight times, and there's different, there's a lot of nuances that go into that. So you're dealing with TSA, you're dealing with the airport or the airlines, and then the third are the retailers and restaurants. Some are master.
You got to pick up the food from somewhere.
I've got to have permission.
Or the shopping item.
Sure, I've got to work with each restaurant and in each retailer. I can't put 10,000 Hudson News SKUs in an app, but I can put the top 50. And retail and restaurant are very, very different. Restaurant delivery for us, the items are going to be bagged up. We're going to pick up a bag and
could be hot, could be
hot,
liquid,
could be cold.
Yep.
Correct. And it's an interesting point. We're certainly going to be very cognizant of the quality of our service, and by doing that, we're going to eliminate certain food items that just don't travel well. Right. We'll eventually get to that, but until packaging can improve on things like French fries and fountain soda and ice cream, you don't want a watery soda, you don't want soggy French fries, and you don't want melted ice cream. So we're going to be very cognizant, but that's a process that is very methodical. And again, we want this experience to be perfect, not fast. And we'd rather do it right and do it well. And so the three-prong approach in the airport really helps. And then tying all that together, San Diego Airport is extremely unique in the fact that they have an innovation lab in the airport.
Wow.
And so we're their first tenant. A guy named Rick Bagliotti, who's a very bright man, runs that. Yeah, Rick's a rock star. Thank you, Rick. Love Rick. But they want us to succeed. Startups have a challenge all the time of there's a tremendous amount of failure in front of you, and having an airport literally hold our hand and come into the meetings when we meet with the retailers and restaurants and say, the airport's supporting this program, we'd hope you support it too. It's a nice way to start a meeting.
It's a credibility and authority. It is,
and we know, and we've said this before, if we don't do San Diego well, there will not be a second airport, so we are extremely focused, but we have such a wonderful relationship with their team there, and they have a big team. We probably interact with 15 to 20 different folks at the airport, all having a very distinct and unique role there, but they've been extremely, extremely helpful.
And when does that test start? When is that launched? We'll talk about the rest of the timeline after that.
Yeah, the tech will launch in the next 3 weeks. We'll launch the back end, or the front end with Grab, which will be the front end app. Messaging in the airport is simple. Download the Grab app, choose delivery. That'll go live on August 28th, and then the week of September 11th, we'll start doing deliveries for airport staff. Flight attendants, kind of a soft launch.
A beta launch, yep.
Correct. And then October 1st, we're going to light the candle and go live to the public. And we're excited about it.
So let's see how at your gate, we have a little video here. We'll take a quick break and see how your solution works.
If there's one thing no one has when they travel, it's enough time. With more security, sometimes settling rather than choosing, and gates often so far apart, you might not have many choices between flights. Introducing At Your Gate. Need something to eat? We'll bring it to your gate. Need some reading material for your long flight? Magazines and books? Check. Forget something important? Right to your gate. Done. Whether you're boarding in first class, boarding Group Z, or already in the cockpit, we'll keep you relaxed, recharged, and ready to go. We are at your gate. What can we get you?
And there it is, At Your Gate. Coming soon to obviously the App Store and other platforms.
Correct.
But you mentioned, let's break for a moment, you mentioned about Grab. Grab is a partner of yours. what is Grab and how do they fit into your equation?
Correct. So Grab is a front-end mobile e-commerce app that enables passengers in about 20 airports in the U.S. right now to order ahead at the restaurant or retailer and then go pick it up at the restaurant or retailer, much like the Starbucks app where you can pre-order your coffee. And the team at Grab, actually, we met each other a little over a year and a half ago. And
Were you put together, or did you happenstance come upon
we were at
you?
a convention, a AAAE, which is an airport executive convention in Houston, Texas. We had a booth there, and I'm not really sure how the meeting happened, but I know that our president and their CEO had met, and we started discussions with them, and they're a wonderful company, and they solve a very important problem, which is the ability to pre-order, and they wanted us to layer on delivery. And so we decided as a company that we would be better off going to market with Grab first and understanding how the business works and really understanding the back end. And they've been a wonderful partner for us, and they integrate directly in the POS system as we will. And so it's a very good marriage for our two businesses together.
So it's a great point, because a lot of entrepreneurs also see another application that does something similar immediately as a competitor. And instead, I think that what you've done is you've taken this app and you've integrated it with your technology and created a partnership.
Correct. Yeah, and I think when you mentioned the competitive nature of startups, I did think they were a competitor at first, and realized they're not only not a competitor, they're a great partner, because they bring a very strong front end in the POS system, and they bring great airline and airport operations. And Mark Bergstrom was their CEO, was an executive at United Airlines for several years, and so they bring a tremendous amount of airport knowledge. They have an airport-wide deal with Dallas Fort Worth. They're in American Airlines' app. So by proxy, we become in there too. So it's a marriage of convenience for both of our companies, and I think we're going to be mutually beneficial.
Excellent. And one other thing you mentioned there just a second ago was about an event you went to. One of the things that I'm always surprised by is the sort of lack of interest from startups in traveling and going to events and getting out there and getting in front of people. Yeah. Talk to me about how many events you've been to date before you've even launched your tech.
I got to be honest with you.
Sorry, just a moment.
It's got to be in the hundreds. My joke inside the company is give me a beer and a badge. They're really important to go to networking events, whether it be an Octane event here in Orange County, a startup pitch event. I've pitched in probably 15 different countries, whether it was for airport business or investors. But events are really important. I think a lot of entrepreneurs are afraid to take their idea outside their house. And there's always that one or two people that can tell you thumbs up or thumbs down. You need to get out and do that. So events are really big. And I've pitched at Octane in front of 800 people, and I've pitched a guy literally in an elevator. So anything in between.
And what are some of the tidbits of learning from each of those pitches that have just refined it? What are some of the things that you remember, that advice you've been given at those moments of pitching or competitions that you're like, I'm gonna change that. I'm gonna make that better.
It's something I'm not doing right now, which is breathe. I was very lucky, very fortunate to be mentored by a man named Nathan Gold up in Silicon Valley, and he's the pitch master to the stars. He's taught the Zuckerbergs and the Steve Jobs of the world how to pitch, and he told me to slow down and breathe and take deep breaths. And I think every single presentation I've done, I've asked for and gotten feedback from my team or from other people, constructive criticism, and I think being confident in what you do is probably 90% of the battle. Because if you believe in what you do and you can stand on stage and tell people that, you don't have to worry about anything.
But be willing to listen when they do give you those pieces of advice, whether it's an up or down or a small criticism. Take it for what it's worth.
Yeah, I mean we've had a C-level executive tell my team and I to our face that we are wasting millions of dollars and years of our lives 2 years ago, and I took that as absolute motivation, just like my high school coach who told me I couldn't play at Kentucky. So you know who you are, and we take that as motivation. And we got a lot more no's than yeses, especially in the fundraising field, which is difficult. But I think overall, learning from your mistakes and getting better every time is something we try to do.
When did you first go up to Silicon Valley to start this venture? So how long are we at? Where are we at in this period?
I snuck into Plug and Play December 7th of 2015. Okay. So we're about 18, 19, 20 months out of that. I started the business in my head in April of 2015. Found David in June of 2015, and he really helped me crystallize the vision. So, but officially, Silicon Valley was December, And I still go up there a lot. I'll be up there in a couple weeks. I still go to Plug and Play, still go to events up there. It's important to stay relevant, especially in the Valley up there. You just never know who you're going to run into.
And you never know what your next venture is going to be, too.
I think my next one's going to be sitting on the beach somewhere, I hope. No, I think I'll always stay busy. And you're right. I mean, I love the startup environment. It was intimidating to me. I'd never been there before. But now I feel very comfortable there. And I think you're right. There's always something going on up there, and keep your eyes open, and you'll never know what you'll see. So
talk to me about the business plan itself. Clearly there's a fee charge for the service that you're providing. It's a convenience factor, so that's the motivation. We've talked about all that. How do you keep the business growing? So you're going into other airports. You're going to start to have a lot of challenges of scale, right? Mm-hmm. Because the staff that you're working with at each of the airports, you're going to have to curate each of those staffs at each airport. That's a lot of travel. That's a lot of logistics. It is. And I think it starts again with San Diego. We're going to learn here. Yeah. We're going to learn how to do it. We're working with a very, very a terrific staffing firm that specializes in the promo model type, people that are more promotional in nature. The
concierge type, correct, yeah. And so I think for us, having these Britneys and Brads, as we call them, each city is unique. Obviously, you're going to present challenges, San Diego notwithstanding, but working with a staffing company to be able to find the right quality of person that we need is vital to our business. So from a scalability standpoint, I think from a staffing standpoint, we're going to learn and grow slowly. We're not looking to take over the world here. I think San Diego is our benchmark. We're going to learn here, and then we'll take our learnings into our next city. It's definitely, being that it's close to home as well, that makes it easy for you. Well, it's home now because I moved there. I moved 11 times in the last 2 years, basically. I'm like a fugitive. So I lived in Silicon Valley, I lived in Venice Beach, worked with LAX, moved back to Laguna, and then moved to San Diego 4 months ago to launch the business. Sure. So I'm excited about it. So people are going to find you after October 1st, because obviously at this point it's kind of going to be under the radar, so to speak, while you work out all the details. The application will be available first on which platform? So we're launching with Grab first, and our messaging again is download the Grab app and then choose delivery. We'll launch our own app, which we're building here, probably in the early spring. It's not competitive to them. We feel like folks that are going to use our app are the flight attendants and pilots that can't physically get to the Grab locations. So we'll launch that here in the spring. I want to talk about that for a moment, because a lot of tech companies look to develop their tech either outside the United States or even up in Silicon Valley. Why did you choose Orange County? I'm a big believer in what I call the bro network, and I listen to my friends. I'm very lucky to have some very, very smart friends. And Metal Mobile, who's actually in this building here with us, came very highly recommended, and it was probably one of the best decisions we made as a company to keep it here. They're very, very collaborative with us. They bring up challenges we didn't see, and we're in the airport, and so they're a great partner for us. I'm very, very big on being hands-on and being involved. I'm here today for 3 hours in a meeting with our staff. I don't contribute, I listen, but I like having them here, and they're good people, and we have a very strong culture in our business about working with good people, and Dave and Michael Gilmore and his team are fantastic. So we're very, very pleased with what I noticed that right away too, that on your way up the ladder, people are going to help you along the way. And people have certainly helped you. You mentioned a couple already, different individuals and CEOs who have already given you inspiration or helped you along the way. You're going to do the same. Oh, yeah. You feel that, don't you? Feel that desire to give back. I like it, and I think you're right. I've been very blessed. I've been extremely lucky to have some very, very influential and smart people in my life that, for one reason or another, put their arms around me. And I'm a college dropout. I didn't get a degree. I had a child when I was 19 years old. You had a nice prep, though. Yeah, listen, Seton Prep. That's where I got all my education. But how many kids do you have now? 2 boys. Okay. Yeah, and so for me, I think giving back has always been something I've been looking to do, and it starts with being able to help other startups now. And I've already started to do that. And I have a couple of friends that have started some really cool businesses that I've been able to help, and I brought a few to Plug and Play, and I'll continue to do that my whole life. Well, really appreciate that. Really appreciate you coming up from San Diego to be here on My Startup. We are a startup network, the Apple Box Network. We're very happy to have a serial entrepreneur in the seat here, in the chair. You have a great story, you have great business at your gate. Download the Grab app and check it out. It's going to be a service available in San Diego, launching October 1st. Really want to appreciate you coming by, PJ. Awesome, thank you. And we will see you next time on myStartUp.Live.